Hello guys, welcome back to my channel. It's Joffy Noodle Legs here again. Another horror video today. Today I'm going through my top 10 1970s films. Now, there are loads of amazing films in the 1970s when it comes to horror, and a lot of sort of Hammer films as well, but I've kind of left the Hammer films out because obviously I want to do a separate video for them. So I'm just going to go through some of my favourites that were out in the 70s that I really loved and I would recommend you guys to watch. Again, a couple of honourable mentions. Black Christmas, really good film. It's like one of the really early slasher films. Obviously a lot of influence went into a lot of slasher films, Halloween and Friday the 13th. Went into this, well, influenced by this movie. It's a really, really cool film. If you haven't seen, you probably have seen it, but I recommend you watching that one. A really, really cool film. Another honourable mention, I'm sure this is a 1970s film. I could be wrong, guys. I am wrong quite a lot. But Horror Express, this is a Hammer film. It's got Christopher Lee and Pete Cushing and Telly Savalas in it. Really good film. It's a monster flick about, obviously he's got this monster that he's found and he's transporting it on the train and it comes to life, and a little bit gory. It's quite good actually. It's one of the sort of gory Hammer films. There's not many of them are really gory, but really good film. Highly recommend it. Really good fun. And I'm sure it's a 1970s film. I'll have to double check on that, but I think it is. So we're just going to get straight to my top 10. The first three are all David Cronenberg films. I love David Cronenberg. He's one of my favourite directors. So we're cracking to them. Shivers, absolutely amazing film. Again, he's got a real thing about parasites, because most of these films have about parasites. This is pretty much like about slug sort of parasite that drove people crazy, and sort of their sort of sexual desires and hunger went out of control. Yeah, and there's a famous scene in there in the bath. Yeah, Shivers, really, really good film. Highly recommend it. Another really great David Cronenberg film, Rabid. Absolutely love it. It's obviously it's about rabies, and people catch rabies and go around terrorize and kill each other. Yeah, it's his kind of version of a zombie film, I suppose. It's a really good film, Rabid. It's probably, if not my favorite David Cronenberg film. Definitely worth a watch. If you do like these are on offer at the moment with Arrow. I think they're about $8.99 each. So if you can pick them up, I would. Such good films. In at number 8 is another David Cronenberg film, and that's The Brood. I do like this film. It's got Oliver Reed in it. It's a bizarre film, a really creepy film with a lot of atmosphere. All these are all filmed in Canada, because obviously he's a Canadian director, and they all got the same sort of look about them. But this is a really bizarre film, but I really like it. It's a very slow film, but the story is fantastic. I'm not going to give the storyline away, just because it's a different sort of story you don't see very often or hear about very often. But there's a couple of crazy kids in it, and yeah, the pregnant mother. Yeah, you watch The Brood. Really, really good film. That's number 8. Number 7, The Exorcist. Obviously, the first one was made in the 70s. Linda Blair, great film. Historically important. You all know about it. You've probably all seen it. If not, then you're missing out. It was very, very controversial in the time. There was a lot of sort of like religious groups that were very anti against this film, and it did end up in the video nasty list and was banned from the UK for quite a while, just due to some of the content in that film. It is a very disturbing film. It's not an easy watch, but it is a really, really good film. Really cool. Okay, number 6, Halloween. Michael Myers. Again, this was in the 70s, the first Halloween. Obviously, this has got Donald Pleasence and Jamie Lee Curtis. Fantastic film. Again, it's a historical film. it was one of the first sort of stalky slasher films that sort of really made the slasher genre popular, because obviously this strung a load of sequels, but in it loads of other films that came out after this, Friday the 13th, Pieces, all these sort of slasher films that came out around this era. I am going to be doing a slasher film video next, so keep your eyes out for that. So I don't want to talk about too many of my favourites, because I want to put them in my next video. Yeah, so Halloween, really good. Another 70s classic, obviously Dawn of the Dead, George Romero's Dawn of the Dead. Not my favourite. It's you know, it's a fantastic film. Day of the Dead is my favourite George Romero film. This is brilliant though. It is very historically. All these are really sort of important films for the horror genre, because they sort of like gave the direction of where it's going to go, and the importance. I'm just watching my puppy here. Hey baby, what are you doing up there? Yeah. Yeah, he's looking for something. He's watching the spiders, I think. Fantastic film, lots of gore. Tom Savini does the effects and he stars in it. Classic film. You know what it's about. It's about they fly a helicopter to a shopping mall where they try to hide out, and bad things happen to them. And yeah, classic film. It's got some comedy elements in there, but it is a great film. Number 4 is obviously The Omen, another classic devil film, if you like. Obviously, we've had The Exorcist. This is The Omen. Gregory Peck, Lee Remick stars in this. Great film. It's a classic, guys. If you've never seen The Omen, you're missing out. It's just one of the greatest films that have been ever made. And it's really spooky. It's a slow-moving film, but I think that works for it. A lot of films that really works for it to be slow, and it just gives that atmosphere even more chills. It's a very chilling film. Yeah, I love it. Some great quotes in that film as well. Absolutely love it. Have no fear, little one. I am here to protect thee. There we go. All right, number 3, a classic animal horror film, Jaws. Okay, this is your giant great white shark. Is it horror? I believe so. I think it's horror because it's a horrible story. It's people being killed by a shark. It didn't do a lot of good for the wildlife of sharks, but as a film, it's fantastic. Great cast in there. Absolutely love this film. Richard Dreyfuss is one of my favourite actors. Really love him, and he plays a really good part in this film. Again, lots of classic lines in here. Everyone has seen Jaws, and it is one of my favourite films of all time. It's a fantastic film, and it is a horror film. Okay, it's a monster horror film. And that's in at number 3. Number 2 is The Wicker Man. I absolutely love this film. I watch this once or twice a year. I love the film. I saw it back in the day, and I fell in love with it then, and I'm still in love with it now. Christopher Lee stars in this one, and an absolutely fantastic film. This is a really good collection. If you get a chance to pick this up, it's got the versions of the film. It's got lots of extras, and it's even got the soundtrack. Really good film. Obviously, you know, a girl goes missing on an island just off Scotland. He goes to investigate the police officer, and well, the rest of the story follows on, and I'm not going to give too much away. But yeah, it's a sort of witchcraft cult kind of film, but it's a fantastic movie. Highly recommend The Wicker Man. So number 1 has to be, and it is of course my favourite film of all time, Alien. Once again, I have to put that number 1 because it's my favourite film. How can I not? And to me, it's what got me into horror. Was Alien. I saw it on television. I didn't see it in the cinema, but I saw it in the television. It must have been 1980 or something like that when it came on the television late at night one weekend. I was young, 13, 14, and I was just I was just taken back by it, and it's become my favourite film. I watch it 2 or 3 times a year. I love the cast. I love John Hurt. I love Sigourney Weaver. Absolutely fantastic cast. Absolutely great film. Never gets old. And this 4K version is the pinnacle version of it. It's absolutely stunning. If you do have 4K TV and 4K player, I recommend picking that up, as well as Jaws, because they both look stunning on 4K. So that's it, guys. That's my 1970s favourite films. My next video will be on slasher films. I'm going to go through slasher films, and most of those will be 80s films again. I mean, there were some great slashers in the 90s that were good. Obviously, you've got your Scream, you have your Urban Legends, and all those sort of films. I Know What You Did Last Summer, Valentine, My Bloody Valentine. There was loads and loads of slasher films that come out in the 90s, but most of them, my favourites, were in the 80s. So we'll talk about them next time. I'd like to give a shout out, obviously, to Horror Hands and to the Horror Geek. Please check their channels out, guys. Go and give them subscribe. They love horror films, and I know a lot of you do. So go and have a look at their channels. They've got a lot more content out than I have. Horror Geeks is quite funny because he does a lot of funny reviews on a lot of the lot of the films. And Horror Hands is a lot like myself. He does a lot of his favourite top 10s. So go and check them out, guys. So until next time, take care of yourself, and I really hope to see you all soon.